Gurram Konda Fort has a history spanning hundreds of years. History states that before being called Garamkonda, its name was Jafarabad. 10 dynasties ruled this Garamkonda fort, including the Vijayanagara kings, Sri Krishnadevaraya, the Mysore kings, the Deccan sultans, and the Kadapa Nawabs, up until the reign of Hyder Ali. During the administration of Mir Raja Ali Khan, Hyder Ali's brother-in-law, Tipu Sultan, Hyder Ali's son, used to pursue his education within this Garamkonda fort under Mir Raja Ali Khan's guidance. Even today, that school stands as a historical proof. The Rendeen Mahal within the fort is referred to as a bungalow. Gurram Konda village is located in the Pilar constituency of the Annamaya district in the state of Andhra Pradesh, India. The surprising thing is, you are probably thinking that he attached the horse to his armpit, meaning perhaps he attached the rope tied to the horse to himself. That is not it at all. Just like in Chandamama stories, the hero I am about to tell you about, in order to enter the fort built upon a sheer, smooth vertical rock face, is said to have attached the horse to his armpit and climbed up along with the horse to enter it. You may not believe it, but regarding Garamkonda, it is said there used to be a hero in the past. One day, he heard about the Garamkonda fort and the Nawabs ruling it. He decided that he must capture the Garamkonda fort at any cost. As he set out for war towards the fort with his forces, he told his mother, "Mother, pour oil in the clay lamp and light it. If the lamp continues to burn, I will return. Otherwise, assume I will never return." However, nobody was able to enter that fort, which was built to be impregnable to enemies on top of a tall, smooth monolithic rock. There is a stairway path on only one side of the fort. Built with adequate defenses on 3 sides, it is impossible for even ants to enter that fort. In this process, the hero's entire army perishes. However, that hero, who accepted nothing but victory and refused defeat, determined to conquer the fort by any means, drove his horse up the sheer vertical rock face. However, as it was impossible for the horse to go up that smoothly sliding rock face, it got injured. Therefore, the hero, having tied the horse's neck and legs with a strong rope, attached it to his armpit and is said to have climbed to the top in one sudden leap. However, having entered the fort alone and in an exhausted state, the Nawab's army brutally killed the hero. Upon learning of this, the Nawab was mesmerized by the hero's bravery, had him buried there itself, and ordered that he be worshipped with devotion. The hero's mother, waiting with hope that her son who went to war would return, understood that he had died when the lamp her son had lit before leaving went out, and closed her eyes, died, from that grief itself. Putting aside the story of that hero who attached the horse to his armpit, if we go into the specifics of the fort. This structure, completed during the Vijayanagara rule, subsequently became historically famous. It is noteworthy that this fort, which stood as a witness to many wars and important events, was not under anyone's control for some period. This structure, which frequently changed hands, reflects the political and social uncertainty of those days. This fort, which experienced resplendent glory under the rule of emperors and Nawabs, is today receiving some degree of care and management under the government's rule. This fort, standing proudly and impregnable at every step, is weeping for its past under the control of the archaeological department. Garamkonda Fort, which shone with glory centuries ago with Chittoor district as its center, now attracts tourists. Although a precise dating regarding the construction of Garamkonda Fort has not taken place, historians believe it was built during the Vijayanagara rule. Accordingly, the name of Garamkonda is heard in history only from the period of the Vijayanagara Empire. After the construction of the fort was initially undertaken for military needs, it became an important administrative center for that region. Until 1642 AD, because it was close to Penukonda and Chandragiri of the Vijayanagara emperors, enemies were unable to focus their attention on Garamkonda Fort for a long time. However, conditions changed by the mid-17th century. Gradually, the Vijayanagara kings became weak. Even before that, enemies had waged war once for Garamkonda but failed. In 1586 AD, a war took place between the Nawab of Golconda, Muhammad Ali Qutbi Shah, and the Vijayanagara emperor, Venkatapatirayalu II. In this war, the Nawab of Golconda suffered defeat. In 1643 AD, the Sultan of Bijapur sent an army called Khan I Khanan to attack Garamkonda. In the war that took place near Garamkonda, the then Vijayanagara ruler, Srirangarailu III, was defeated. With this, the fort came under the possession of the Sultan of Bijapur. However, according to a treaty agreed upon 2 years later, the Sultan of Bijapur handed this fort back to Srirangarailu III. In 1658, in a war that took place between the two again, Garamkonda came under the possession of the Sultan of Bijapur once more. In 1710, Abdul Nabi Khan was appointed as the Subedar of Garamkonda. From 1713, for the maintenance of Garamkonda fort, Abdul Nabi Khan not only mandated that 34,000 pagodas be paid annually as tribute from the Palagas of Punganur but also directed them to supply 2,000 soldiers during times of war. In 1757, the Nawab of Kadapa, Mohsin Khan alias Mokha Mia, handed this fort over to the Maratha ruler Balwant Rao. In 1766, Garamkonda came into the possession of the rulers of Mysore. Mir Raja Ali Khan became its ruler. The ruler of Mysore, Hyder Ali, married his sister. In 1772, Hyder Ali handed over the fort to the Marathas according to an agreement. Within 2 years, in accordance with changed circumstances, Hyder Ali's son Tipu Sultan reacquired Garamkonda fort. Even though he was Tipu Sultan's maternal uncle, Mir Raja Ali Khan became the ruler of Garamkonda fort as usual. Against this background, in 1782, both the ruler of Mysore, Hyder Ali, and the ruler of Garamkonda, Mir Raja Ali Khan, passed away. With this, Hyder Ali's son Tipu Sultan became the ruler of Mysore. At the same time, because Mir Raja Ali Khan's son, Mir Kamruddin, was extremely intelligent and capable, Tipu Sultan knew he would be a danger someday. He created a rumor. Mir Kamruddin, believing this rumor to be true, attacked Srirangapatnam without thinking through. Tipu Sultan, who was prepared, captured Mir Kamruddin, accused him of conspiring against him, imprisoned him, and brought Garamkonda directly under his own control. Tipu Sultan also did not continue direct rule over this fort for very long. In 1790, a tripartite agreement was reached between the British, the Nizam, and the Marathas against Tipu Sultan. According to this, on September 15, 1791, the Nizam's army besieged Garamkonda fort. However, besieging the fort for many days yielded no result. The strong stone walls built outside the fort effectively stopped the enemies. With this, Captain Reid of the British Army was able to break the stone walls outside the fort using explosives. Consequently, Tipu Sultan's army, which was at the bottom part of the fort, reached the top part of the hill. The bottom part came under the possession of the Nizam's army. Confident that since the bottom part was under their control, the top part of the hill must also come under their control eventually, no matter how many days it took. Only a few people from the Nizam's army remained there, and the rest of the army set out for Hyderabad. Upon receiving information that the Nizam's army had surrounded Garamkonda fort, Tipu Sultan sent some army from Mysore under the leadership of his eldest son, Fateh Hyder. Seeing the army that reached near Garamkonda, Hafiz Ji of the Nizam's army thought they were dacoit robbers and, out of fear, as he was attempting to flee, Tipu Sultan's soldiers surrounded him, captured him, and put him in prison. Consequently, the bottom part also came under Tipu Sultan's possession. Upon learning this, the Nizam's army going to Hyderabad turned back and surrounded it. With the British army also joining in, they captured the bottom part of the fort very easily. This siege continued for a long time. Finally, in 1792, according to an agreement reached between the Nizam and the king, Tipu Sultan handed over all of the Kadapa region under his control, including the Garamkonda fort, to the Nizam. Later, in the year 1800, it came under the rule of the East India Company. Sir Thomas Munro, who was appointed as the principal collector of the ceded districts on the 1st of that same year, completed tasks like land survey and deciding on revenue collection in Garamkonda district by March 1801. And brought this region under the administration of the Revenue Board by the end of April. Garamkonda fort is a feast for the eyes of tourists. With the hill being sheer vertical on 3 sides and allowing ascending from only one side, steps have been built to the top of the hill. Strong boundary walls made of stone have been built on all 4 sides of the hill. Tall bastions are present at every step. Opposite the hill is the Elephant's Lake. Crocodiles used to be released in that lake to stop the movements of enemies. Provisions were made for soldiers to keep watch. A 2-layered boundary wall was built around the hill. Within the inner compound is the Ranjini Mahal, the official residence of the fort commanders. That marvelous structure stands majestically intact to this day. If viewed from the front, this Ranjini Mahal appears to be 2 stories, and if viewed from the back, it appears to be 3 stories. The marvelous glass Mahal, Adadala Mahal, which used to be nearby as the Queen's quarters, was razed to the ground long ago and has recently come to light during excavations by the Archaeological Department, attracting everyone. Because the Mallikarjun Swami temple is under the control of the Archaeological Department, pujas take place only on festivals and special occasions. On the wall outside the temple's sanctum sanctorum, an arrow mark and the carved letters, Rabhaya Mara, can be seen. Many believe the secret behind these letters is a secret tunnel built from inside the sanctum sanctorum to outside the fort. If one returns to the hill path, welcome archways bid welcome. On the hill, there are residential complexes built for soldiers. Various pictures are carved on the boundary wall around the pond built for bathing. Bastions are built all around on the hill. Cannons were fitted in them and used during times of war. Small, toy-like houses built as part of the military setup to unleash fierce animals like tigers, bears, and lions upon enemies during times of war are still not ruined. The mandapam with statues of Ganesha and Anjaneya Swami built within the second compound at the bottom of the hill was badly damaged in enemy attacks. Although the Ganesha statue is damaged, pujas still continue as usual. Outside the two compounds is Khandriga village. There is a beautiful mosque built with bricks. This village got the name Magbira due to Mir Raja Ali Khan's tomb itself. This Magbira, Khandriga, built in 1785, is two-storied in the Arabic style. While the tombs of his family members are on the first floor, ground, Mir Raja Ali Khan's tomb is on the second floor, top. The construction of the dome, Gambas, where the tomb is located on the second floor completely resembles the Gol Gambas in Bijapur. Currently, all these places are under the dynamic control of the Archaeological Department. In those days, Garamkonda shone with glory as the center of a strong fort. For 200 years, it was the center of a monarchical system of governance, a jagir, and a home to trade, commerce, and zamindars. The oldest mosque in this Garamkonda was built in the year 1650. This mosque is now on the road route going to Kadireya Cheruvu. This mosque's name is Shirazi Mosque.